Hello, this is David, and in this video I'm going to be conducting a technical analysis of my 100 meters freestyle race from the Kenilworth Masters Swimming Meet 2025. I came in with a time of 103.21, nearly 2 whole seconds off of my personal best. Therefore, it's a result that I'm a little bit disappointed with, and therefore I'm going to be looking at what I could have done better in this race, as well as look as if there was anything that I did well. So let's dive right in to today's technical analysis. A nightmare start for me as I go too deep on my dive, and as a result end up half a body length behind the rest of the competition at the start of this race. Despite that, I keep my head up and powering down that first 25. Could have pushed the underwaters a little better at that first tumble turn. Keeping my stroke nice and smooth down the second 25. Just trying to get myself back into this race after an awful start. Not a great tumble turn at the 50 where I lose even more time on my competitors, but I start to put the burners on and claw back some lost distance. My stroke is looking nice and smooth, but could have pushed off maybe a little harder off the wall and definitely pushed those underwaters a lot harder at the third turn. Now it's coming into home where I'm trying to push as hard as I can. Probably left a little bit too much on the table and finish in a time of 103.21. A brief interlude to say, if you would like one of your races analysed in the same way that I have just done that race, then please leave a comment down below and we can sort out a way for which I can do that for you. Otherwise, if you would give this video a like, I'd very much appreciate it. Remember to follow and subscribe for more swimming content, but otherwise, back to the technical analysis. So the first key talking point from that 100 meters freestyle race was the dive, because when I surfaced, I had lost approximately half a body length on the rest of the field, which is a massive disadvantage to start off any type of race in, let alone a 100 meters freestyle. What happened here was I didn't get my trajectory quite right off of the dive. I wasn't able to get myself in the nice streamlined position / angle myself going into the water as well as I wanted to, and as a result I went far too deep with my dive, meaning that I had a lot of work to do to come back up to the surface. I wasn't going forward with the dive, but instead went down and up, and that is fundamentally what meant that I had lost a whole load of time. And annoyingly, once this had happened, I already knew in my head that this wasn't going to be one of my best races. However, that being said, I'm still proud of myself that I didn't lose my head entirely and just give up completely in that race. I knew I had messed up the dive. I knew that it was going to be difficult for me to recover from that and perform one of my best 100 meter swims. However, I am still happy with the fact that I still managed to hold on for a 103.21. So first off, need to work on the dive. It's something that I've been working on quite a lot during my recent swim practices, and therefore going forward, hopefully it's something that is going to be an asset to me in my races, rather than at the moment being the weakest part of my swim. The second key point for me from that race was the fact that I went out a little bit too conservatively. I didn't go out as fast as I normally would do. Maybe I was psychologically put off by the poor dive. But I finished the race feeling as though I had a reasonable amount left in the tank. Normally on the 100 meters, especially down the last 25, you can really start to feel it, where you really have to hold on, where in my head I start to think to myself, how much do you really want this personal best / good performance in a 100 meters. And I didn't have to dig deep on that final 25 of the 100. And as a result, that left me feeling as though I hadn't given my all in this race. There was still a little bit left to give. And I think had I done that, then I could have knocked off a significant amount of time from that 1 minute 3 seconds 0.21. So because previously I've gone out maybe a little bit too fast, and on my previous 100, sorry, not my previous 100 meters, but my 100 meters at the Swim England Masters Nationals in October 2024, I went out too fast. I believe that I just held a little bit too much in reserve to avoid going out too fast, where I just absolutely killed myself, and it showed on that final 25, meaning that I didn't get as good as a time as I want back then. So I'm really trying to calibrate it to make sure I go out fast enough on the 100 so that by the end of the race I've absolutely given my all, but not so fast that when coming down that final 25 I've just completely run out of gas and therefore have put too much earlier into the race. It really is a fine art in the 100 meters freestyle, making sure that you go out hard to get as good a time as you can, but don't go out so hard that, well, you get as good as time as you can because you haven't completely killed yourself on the first 75 meters. So still a little bit of work there to calibrate how quickly to go out on the 100 meters, because you can't go out 100%, because as I say, you end up tiring yourself out so that when you try to finish the race you've got nothing left. But at the same time, you know, you're taking the foot off the gas a smidge. You're probably going at 97.5, 98% as opposed to 100 down that first 50, which is really difficult to judge how to get that right. So just need to put a little bit more work there into calibrating how quickly I go out on that first 50 within the 100 meters. The final key point for me that I can improve on is trying to get my stroke a little bit more continuous and smooth. It was certainly better than the 100 that I did last time at the Trafford Metro Masters Meet. However, I can still sense a little bit of clunk in the rhythm of my stroke, and as a result just need to smooth that out, which will help me to become more efficient in the water and yeah, just get a faster time by having my stroke nice and smooth. It will just feel nice. However, that again is rather difficult to achieve. It's something that's quite taxing on the shoulders and the lats. And as you're sprinting already, that's something that's already quite taxing on those two muscles. And as a result, it's just going to take time to A, first get used to that rhythm, and B, make myself fit enough to be able to do that throughout the duration of the 100. However, it was good that I improved that upon my Trafford Metro Masters Meet swim. So that's something that I'm really happy with. Otherwise, I thought that race went pretty well. A 103 is nothing to be too disappointed with, especially given the large mistake I made with the dive at the start of the race that really set me back quite bad. Perhaps I could have pushed the tumble turns a little bit more and the push off the dive, get a bit further on the underwaters. So again, something more to practice there. However, again, those weren't too bad. I think my stroke rate was pretty decent. Rather happy with that. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to pick out faults. Otherwise, some 3 big mistakes on that swim. However, those things considered, it's not too bad a result otherwise, and just need to touch up those finer points, and fingers crossed that will put me in with a shot of a personal best, if not realising my dream of going a sub-minute 100 metres short course freestyle at Masters Nationals later this year. That is it for today's video, and if you've enjoyed it, please give it a like. Remember to follow and subscribe for more swimming content, and to swim faster on limited training time, head on over to westcough.com. Otherwise, see you in the next video.